What's up, everyone? Welcome to the RRBG podcast. I am here with Johnny Christ of Johnny Drinks with Johnny and also Avenged Sevenfold fame. Just a small band, like a small local band that nobody knows about. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you. I
Yeah.
like that I felt like what's his name? Fabio in Zoolander. So thank you for acknowledging that I'm a podcaster and musician and not the other way around. So
We have the bass player of Avenged Sevenfold. He has a podcast. Everybody has one.
Exactly. That's usually the case, right?
Yeah, right. You know, has it taken over, you think, the traditional radios, like appearances and stuff?
I don't know if it's taken over, and I might not be the right person to ask on that because I have been doing just predominantly podcasts over the last year or so.
Mhm.
Strictly because we don't have new material.
Right.
Usually when we do radio interviews and stuff like that, it's because we have new material. We're doing things of that nature, touring and all that stuff. So without that, it's most of the stuff I have been doing is podcasts because of my podcast that I started. So it's a lot of that is the main focus right now because there's really not a whole lot going on with Avenged right now. I mean,
Yeah.
we're still working obviously daily on the brand, the band, the merch, everything to do with Avenged Sevenfold is a constant. There's no breaks on that. But as far as music and new content and stuff like that, there's not a lot to talk about there as of now. I mean, you can ask and I'll be completely transparent, but that's that's pretty much where it is. So it has been mostly podcasts for me.
No, that's good, man. You know, during the pandemic, it was a lot of podcasts popped up.
Yeah.
Not saying that yours popped up during that time. I'm just saying like
Oh
that
yeah.
that
No, I understand.
it became more mainstream to have a podcast. People are paying attention now because in the beginning it was just a couple big guys, you know, Adam Carolla, maybe, you know, Marin and like Rogan. But then it became more prevalent in the scene with, you know, in addition with like Twitch.
Yeah.
You were recently live on Twitch with Wes Borland, right?
Yeah. I was just on his and my friend Bobby's show, Bobby Shabinsky over on Twitch. They they created a show together called Space Zebra. Uh, Probably shit, it might be close to 6 months ago now.
Hmm.
And that was just they had their own channel, their own Twitch channel, and they would do live, and then they'd release it as a podcast a couple days later. And they teamed up with Danny Wimmer, who is Danny Wimmer Presents is a huge company that promotes and works with all the rock festivals in America. And he started a rock thing with Twitch, and Bobby and Wes partnered up with him on it. And yeah, they still have a show called Space Zebra, but it's on the Danny Wimmer Presents channel.
Gotcha.
So there's
Yeah.
like a whole new channel. I'm just learning Twitch, by the way. Like, I mean, people ask me like, what the fuck Twitch is, and I'm like, you're asking the wrong guy. I
Yeah.
have zero idea. My understanding of it was guys get on there, play video games, and have headsets on and talk to people who are watching them play video games, which I think is the start of what they did. But it
Sure.
seems
Yeah.
like they've shifted to that. They've got Amazon that bought them a few years ago, whatever it was, that's running it. So they're not going anywhere. I mean, that's too much money that they're dealing with. But according to the sources I've heard, they really harp on live content. But as long as it's live, it doesn't matter what the content is. If that makes any sense. It's not just video gaming anymore. There's shows like the one I was on yesterday, for instance, where three of us are sitting around a couch talking shit.
Yeah.
But it is live. That's the thing that they want to be like really on, is that it's live, which I think works for podcasters too. Cause as I said, like they're doing, like this could be live, this conversation right now, and then you could just go release the audio afterward a couple days later.
Yeah.
And there you go. So it's something that I've actually looked at. I'm starting to look at right now. I'm on the Sound Talent Media Network for audio podcasting, and then we have our own YouTube channel as well, which works really well for us because if you've seen the show, there's a lot of post work in it.
Yeah.
That doesn't, but we'd have to shift a little bit to do the Twitch thing, which I'm not adverse to because we did a lot of live stuff. I was going live like 3 or 4 times a week during the pandemic just out of boredom.
Yeah.
So we figured it out. So
I mean, it could be two separate things. You look at what like
Yeah.
pro wrestling has been doing sometimes with like live shows, and then there's also some cinematic performance that happens with Sting in a warehouse, like
Yeah.
like that's
Absolutely,
cool.
and I love that. I love that you watch AEW and just interviewed Penta. 'Cause I'm friends with a lot of the guys over at AEW. They've been great for me on the show, and I've known Chris Jericho, arguably one of the, I mean, not arguably one of the top guys, but arguably the top guy over there.
The goat.
And yeah, and he's they've been great, and I absolutely love the everything they're doing. I met Darby Allen wanted to come on the show last season. And I was like,
Yeah, I saw
last,
that.
yeah, last February we did that. And it was so funny because I didn't know who he was at the time. I just started watching AEW because it was still only a couple years old.
Yeah.
And yeah, he reached out to me through a fellow friend, comedian Taylor Williamson.
Yeah.
And then next thing I know, I'm hanging out with this dude, and I was like, I don't know who this is. He shows up, and I'm like, he wants to do all this crazy shit at my house, and I'm like, dude, I don't know. Like I don't know what you think, but like we could pepper spray, but we're not doing it at my bar because that's gonna stink up the whole fucking house for a while.
Yeah.
Like, all right, so we had to go to a different location for that. He wanted to meet at a skate park, so we met at a skate park here in Huntington. I watched this. That was my first introduction to him. Was watching him skate like a madman all over these bowls at this rad skate park, and I was like, man, this guy's gnarly. And then
Yeah.
now we're like good friends, text each other all the time. He came back on the show a few months ago.
Nice.
We did some more stuff, but yeah, it's AW stuff is fun, man.
Yeah, it's good to see him get some shine too, man. I saw him. I used to see him out here in LA a lot, in like PWG, or I saw him at Storecade. Actually, we had him there when I was. We did.
Yeah.
I don't know if you did you hear about Storecade?
I heard about it. I heard a little bit about it. But maybe you could fill me in a little bit more. What was that about?
Tony Hinchcliffe had a podcast with some friends, Chris and Johnny Scortis, and they're called the Store Horsemen, and they would review wrestling.
Yeah.
And so they decided to have a live wrestling show at the Comedy Store in the main room. And I jumped in there like I need to help you guys out with this because I knew the guys. I've been hanging out with them at the store, so I was like, let me help. I know things about wrestling. I can help you out. And yeah, I ended up bringing in Josh Barnett to do the announcing and like have him do a chop during the show. And the Lucha Brothers were there. Darby was there. Luchasaurus was there. A bunch of the dudes from AEW that were locals. Ended up performing, and it was great. Great night.
Dude, that's rad. Yeah. I saw a little bit about that. And then there was also, you mentioned Tony Hinchcliffe, who was on the show. Like I knew about the Store Horseman because I had him on the show. Then I understand he got in a little bit of trouble a couple weeks ago, didn't he?
He did. He's still charging forward though.
Yeah.
He's still putting out the show, and he got re-signed to a different company because I don't know. He said some things that were out of context, sounded really, really bad, and he probably shouldn't have said them anyway. So, but I understand a little bit because I would spend nights at the Comedy Store just watching him work, and I understand his inner workings. So I knew where he was going, and that's why I wasn't like, as soon as he said, I'm like, that one, that
probably
one
wasn't the best idea.
Not the good timing, not good timing there. But it was taken out of context. That's all I can say.
Yeah, no, I didn't hear specifically what it was. What somebody hit me up, it was like, oh, your friend Tony got in trouble, blah blah blah, because he was on the show, and I was like, oh shit. I mean, when we had a conversation, we've texted back and forth. He seems like a good dude. I mean, I'm not super close with him. I wouldn't pretend that, but I mean, we're acquaintances.
Yeah,
and he seems like a intelligent, good dude for the most
part. He's always been nice to me, and I'm obviously Hispanic, so if he was, what they say he is, he probably wouldn't be hanging out with me, but he does. He hangs out with everyone. He's very, very friendly behind the scenes. It's a matter of
whatever he said. We don't need to get too far into what that was because I don't actually even know. But was it in a context? Was he on stage doing a bit or something?
So he came out. He was introduced by another comedian who opened up for him, and a comedian who he's had open up for him many times. They've been on tour together. He was on the Kill Tony show numerous times. So he was like part of the scene, He wasn't like unknown. So he brought him on to open the shows, and then Tony didn't like his set because he was trashing on Americans, and Tony's been on this like weird heel character lately that he's super American. So so he comes out and just trashes the dude that introduced him, said a slur, but it was all as a character, and the way
Yeah.
he said it, because the previous set was also racist and like full of trashing Americans and how Asians have done everything for us or something like that. So he came out like offensive, to get the heel heat or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But he maybe shouldn't have said the slur.
Okay, so that was the yeah. I mean, that's the issue. Of course, those
Yeah.
words shouldn't be said and
Yeah.
behind or in front of people.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate. But I do like I didn't realize this. I do like the story of like he's got the heel character. He's obviously a huge wrestling fan, and he's like embracing a. I've never heard of a heel character in comedy, I guess, and I think that's honestly, I think that he's onto something great. I know he's been doing it for a while, but I mean, I hope to see it continue then. I mean, that sounds interesting. That's a show within a show. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I noticed you got a Call of Duty poster back there.
Yes.
I have the same one. I have mine from being in the video or in the game.
That's right. That's right. You guys make a song for each of the Black Ops, right?
So far we have the last few, I think. Yeah, we definitely have.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah, my wife works at Activision.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she got that from work.
Yeah, that would make sense why you have the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we collect a bunch of stuff. There's a bunch of Zelda and Amiibo stuff and N64 down there, and like, yeah, it was a big gamer house. So, but I'm thankful because I grew up gaming a lot, and a lot of the girlfriends I had in the beginning were all like, "What are you doing playing video games? That's you're an adult. Stop it." But when I met her, she was playing with me. I'm like, "This is it. This is the dream.
Yeah.
This is what I've been missing out on." So
that's fantastic, though. That's
gamer guys, I advise you to find you a gamer girl. I'm just saying.
Yeah. What are you pouring there? I thought you were having a drink. Is that still the same drink?
No. So I'm pouring here an LFG from Mason Ale Works out in close to San Diego. They have a brewery out in Tustin now as well.
That's a rad can.
Yeah, dude. Super hazy something IPA. Double dry hopped hazy double IPA with Nelson hops, 7.9%.
Wow, that's fucking fantastic.
Yeah, I'm working with these dudes on putting together a product that will be announced soon.
Ooh, awesome! I love that. You have to come back. You have to come on my show to talk about that another time.
Absolutely, you'll see when I make the end. I can't say much, but it's a big deal and it's gonna be nice. I think.
So,
a lot of people
you're
will be
about to
into
drink that beer. You're about to
it.
drink.
I'm about to have drinks with Johnny.
Dude, okay. Well, hey, I wasn't sure if we were going to be doing that. Give me just 1 second.
Yeah.
I'm going to go and pour myself a beer. I'll be right back.
All right, let's go. So I had a very late night last night, and today is my day off. And
so a little hair of the dog. I get it.
Also, I smoked a little bit, and
nice.
I thought your background was one of those Zoom backgrounds. I am not even. Because there's an effect happening with that neon behind you, or that you have like an outline right now of like white. And I was like, that looks like the Zoom thing. It's probably just a picture. Nope, it's an actual bar with a draft handle, like tap handle, like.
Oh yeah.
So jealous. That's my life goal right there.
Yeah, these webcams can be a little funny with the autofocus stuff. Like it's good to have it, but also when I get up and move around, or when you have neon lights like that, it looks a little different in there. But
hey, also, but I prefaced it with I'm a little fuzzy.
Well, let's cheers to that, man. Cheers, now that I got my beer. Cheers.
Yes. What are you drinking?
This is an IPA from Georgetown Brewery in Seattle. It's called Bodhisattva.
Ooh, okay. Dude, that my goodness. There's a line with these double IPAs, these hazies that are
what percentage is that one?
7.9.
That's a solid double.
It turns into juice, and I know that's a common phrase amongst the beer nerds. Oh, it's juicy, but it literally is. It's like a juice. It's like fruit juice with alcohol. It feels like a daiquiri, which is not offensive to me, but it's also like this is something. I think this is something else. This is not.
Mhm.
This is not beer. This is not a cocktail. I don't know what this is.
Well, it's funny. You mentioned you're going to be doing something with. I just did a beer. I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah, with Four
I got one
Sons.
can. Yeah, with Four Sons. I got one can back there. I don't know if you guys can see it. I had the last of my batch yesterday when I was on that Twitch feed.
Nice.
So that was. We're gonna make some more, and it's only gonna be available in Southern California. But I can't wait to get my hands on some more of those cans because that's damn good beer. I'm gonna
What?
drink this piss water. Just kidding. I actually really like the Buddy stuff.
What is it? What is it that got you into craft beer? Because I know there's
Drinking.
just drinking.
Just drinking.
No, but how was it that it was introduced to you? Because I mean, I remember clearly the day I discovered craft beer. Like it was like a life-changing event because I'd been drinking Heineken and Corona and Bud for my whole life, and then all of a sudden it's like, what? There's other
Well,
stuff.
yeah. Well, I think I probably have to give credit to Zach on this because I don't really remember. I mean, you would have my first IPAs and things of that nature, or heavier lagers, whatever it may be, like a Boston lager, like a Sam Adams or Sierra Nevada. I had early on when I first started being of age to drink and like 21 in restaurants, first time at like a steakhouse, give me a Sierra Nevada with my filet or whatever, Big
Gotcha.
Bucks McGee over here. But I mean, also this was, 15 years ago. There wasn't, the craft beer scene wasn't quite what it is today. So, I mean, that's one thing too. It wasn't as readily available. But then when we started touring about it, and we're like, we used to always have Miller Lite on the rider. It's the best tasting light beer, in my opinion, still to this day, because, for us trying to keep our figure on stage and everything, we were drinking Miller Lights a lot. And we kind of got sick of it. And at one point, because it's the same thing every day. So
Yeah.
we requested on a local beer of some kind, just an extra 6-pack of that so that we can mix it up a little bit. We started trying those. And then a runner is the person who goes out and fulfills the rider. For people who don't know, they're on site all day with different bands. They run out, they grab whatever you need, whatever's on your rider. Your rider is what is the goodies that are in the backstage for you all day while you're waiting to play a show. There's your education for the day.
I've done that a couple of times. I've
So
had to be a runner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great people. Can't get the show without the runners. I'll tell you that much. But yeah, so they started, and they would take, and we just tell them, you live here, the runners are always local. You live here. What's something we should try? And they started coming with all these different local crafts. And that's when I think we started, we found a few different ones. There was, was it Surly out in Minnesota, I believe.
Surly's metal as hell, man. That's a good brewery.
Yeah. And they got great beer. So, I mean, there was some like that, and then shit. I feel like just in the last 5 years, right here in Huntington Beach, there's just been an onslaught of new breweries that are coming out because everyone's learning the craft, for lack of a better word, of making these beers and just doing so many different unique things with it. I feel like beer was stagnant for so long. Like there was just, you either have light or heavy beer, and that's it. And preferences on taste, as you said, Heineken or Miller Lite, Coors Light, Corona. Those were kind of your options for a long time. And then now I feel like locally, at least, there's a local brewery in every fucking city in the world. I feel like there's a
Pretty
good
much.
one.
Pretty much. Yeah. Yeah. It's all a matter of, whether or not there is a line that has to be crossed to get into craft beer, I guess. And then there's another line. Once you get into it, there's another line of like nerdiness. Like how nerdy are we going to get here? Are we going to start talking about pH levels in the water?
I don't get that nerdy. I don't get that nerdy. I don't pretend to be that. I wouldn't even call it nerdy. That knowledgeable.
Knowledgeable. Yeah. No, I've done a couple of like the Great American Beer Fest and like Extreme Beer Fest out in Boston, and those get nerdy.
I bet.
Yeah, but it's funny because I saw so many parallels within that and what what we did with music, where when I walked into the Great American Beer Fest, to my right was a wall of T-shirts of all the breweries, and I was like, "This is Ozfest." Like, what are we talking about? And there's people taking pictures with head brewers oh my God, it's Sam Calagione of Dogfish Head, or like, oh, here's Garrett Oliver of Brooklyn, and people are taking selfies. I'm just like, this is Ozfest. This is what this is for beer
Wow, I
heads.
didn't realize that came into that. That's rad. That. I would love to go to one of those. That
Dude,
sounds
it's
rad.
it's it's great if you're if it's great if you're going with industry. If you have an industry
Yeah.
pass, it's fucking awesome because
How
all
do
you
you get
got.
an industry pass? I need an industry pass. I got a
Yeah.
show called Drinks with Johnny.
There you go. Hey, we'll figure that out. I'll help you out. I know some
All
people.
right. All right, cool.
But dude, you go and you're just going from booth to booth, but you go through the side or the back. You're hanging out with the brewers. There's before parties. There's after parties. There's um, it's a thing for like a weekend. Like, and
Yeah.
I love doing it, but you run into I hear there's only a 9.6, Plato on the whatever, and the brew, the gravity of the beer. I'm like, dude, stop.
No.
Drink, have a
Yeah.
drink. There you go.
Do you like the taste of it?
Does it taste good?
The answer is pretty simple. It's yes or no.
Yeah, that became my sales technique too, because I was doing sales as well for beer, and it was mostly like I would just show up. You see dudes, I would see other reps show up because it was once you're on a schedule where the managers are at the bar, there's they line up at the bar. There's dudes with
Yeah.
their polos and their iPads, and they have a thing and they're ready to sell her 150 cases of Corona because they have to, because it's a sports bar. So they have to order that much, and he doesn't really care. He's just taking the numbers. Like, give me how many? 300.
Right.
All right, I'll see you tomorrow. But I show up and I just so I can pour them a beer. Like, here you go, enjoy. That was
Yep.
and I would just sit there and like sit on my phone or like do something, and they're like, "What's up?" I'm like, "No, dude, I'm working. Try this beer though. It's good, right? Yeah, I sell it, by the way, if you want one." That was my
That's
sales
pretty good.
technique. That was it.
Yeah, I like it.
I would get
think
these. I would take these
it sounds like it
classes.
worked.
Yeah, it worked, dude. I would they would make us take these classes, like John Fox or something, salesman classes, where you have to present yourself and make sure your posture and your handshake is strong. And I'm just like, that's cool, but I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it my way. It's fine. Do you want results? That's all you need to worry about. The results. Yeah.
Keep it simple.
Yeah.
I like it.
So for you, I mean, now that things are starting to open up and the world is getting back to normal,
Yeah.
live shows for you in
yeah,
terms
you
of,
mean-
of Drinks with Johnny live.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We're definitely talking about that. We're coming up on halfway through this season. I do seasons. A lot of people like don't get it when in podcast world, and I totally get it because they're going through this. I like to take the holidays off at least. And
Okay.
it doesn't necessarily mean that like I'm not giving weekly content still. It's just not a lot of new episodes are going to happen during the holidays. As you know, I would just have to bank them anyway, and they wouldn't be the quicker turnarounds that I like to have.
Yeah.
Because everyone, as you know, everyone you try and talk to during the holidays, it doesn't really work out too well. You don't get a lot of guests during the holidays because everyone wants to take a break for a minute, So
Yeah.
I try to take a break. I got off on a tangent there about seasons, but so everything opening back up is definitely, I'm more excited than rather than going a lot of live stuff. I'm excited to go back out and travel a little bit and get back to what the show was originally kind of thought of, where I would go to breweries like we're talking about, or a beer fest, or go somewhere and have the cameras follow me around while I do these things. It's gonna have a travel show as like a, we had Zane Lamprey on the show, kind of like a 3 sheets kind of thing. Or the Anthony Bourdain, rest in peace, but alcohol version. Or sometimes it doesn't even have to be alcohol. I want to go out to, we were making a joke how funny it would be if I dressed up in one of those old man suits and went into like a bingo, like a bingo hall at an old folks home, and just hung out and talked to a bunch of old people as an old person, and like get like that conversation going.
Yeah.
So like that's the kind of stuff that I'm excited. And Zoom has become a necessary thing, and everyone's gotten used to it. And it's awesome. It's awesome that we have that tool for times like this, where it's easier for you and I just to pop up in our house somewhere and do this, right?
Yeah. That way we don't have to drive drunk from the show.
Exactly. I mean, I was wasting a bunch of money when I was having guests come over here, get drunk, and I have to send them away in an Uber.
Yeah.
But not really. But I only had to do that once or twice.
Yeah.
But No, it was having in-person stuff is there's a difference of the conversation,
Yeah.
and not that one's better than the other per se, especially when we're talking for the audio. The audio for Zoom has been great because, you know, I can get guests that aren't in Southern California,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. Yeah, that's good.
and yeah, so or and eventually when I go back out on the road with Avenged Sevenfold or even take like live podcasting, we thrown around the idea of going to breweries like Zane or distilleries or just improvs and taking this show on the road and go during the day, shoot like a travel channel style show of the place that I'm at, and then at night do a live podcast and then put that out the coming days. And I think we might eventually do that. So I'm excited about that and the aspect of having in-persons. In-persons are great for my show because we're really heavy on YouTube. It started as a YouTube show to
Yeah.
begin with. So those camera angles, those switch ups, what we could do in post comes off a lot better as in-person stuff. Like the stuff we were talking about earlier with Darby Allen. That's
Right.
always been in-person stuff. It's a lot of fun. I mean, we're just having fun filming that stuff. Like that's just, we're usually playing a game of some kind or doing something like that when we're in person. It's hard to come up with games over Zoom. Let me tell you, we would try to rack our minds around how we can break it up from a conversation and have a little bit more fun with it. And I'm excited about that aspect coming back. As a matter of fact, we've done a couple of in-persons. We got another one from WWE Hall of Famer Medusa is going to be
Nice.
released on this Monday. I don't know when this show is going to air, but it'll probably already be out, so people can go check that out. But she came over to the house. She was in town. She's originally from Florida. Came out. We played a little game of checkers, drinking checkers. Made her a drink. It was super fun.
Nice.
It ended up being a 3-hour conversation that we're actually in the process of editing right now.
Okay.
So yeah, before I hopped on today, that was part of my busy morning that I was late for this for is
Uh,
figuring out what we're going to do with all that content.
Hell yeah, man! But it sounds like you're doing it. I mean, it sounds fun. It sounds very similar. I actually shot a pilot for an RRBG TV show with Alexis from Three Teeth, and we went to a brewery here in what's the city? Carson.
Yeah,
Phantom Carriage.
Phantom Carriage.
My
I've
my
not been.
no, my buddy used to own it. It was this dude Martin, and
Okay.
he sold it and opened up a pizza shop. But when he's still the owner, we shot basically like you were saying, like a travel channel type of deal. But it wasn't just me going places. I'm bringing a guest, and it's a
Yeah,
local guest to go to a brewery, and we would. I guess the plan would be a collaboration beer. You know what I mean? Hey, I'm bringing this dude from Three Teeth, so Three Teeth and Phantom Carriage make a beer. Cool.
that's cool. That's a great idea.
And I had the pilot filmed and everything, and then and I had it pitched to a network, and it was cool. And then pandemic,
What
and it was like
can you say? What network? Do you mind telling me what network it was that you pitched
uh,
to?
Food Network,
Food Network. Okay.
but it just didn't. Everything kind of just stopped in the process
Everything
'cause
did. Yeah.
everything just
Everyone
like
had to
nope,
swerve.
yeah, gotta figure something else out. Well, I started doing video during the pandemic. I've only been
Mhm.
doing video on this podcast for a year. It's insane,
Wow.
and it's funny because once I started doing it, I was like, why haven't I been doing this the whole time? Like this, and I've had cool situations where I'm out somewhere and I'm like, I should have filmed all of that. Why didn't I film this? Like I'm starting to try and get into that mentality, or get, like you said, interns to follow me around. Fucking just film this, please, and we'll put it out and figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot you could do with the Final Cut and some post when you just follow around. I mean, I got new cameras over and stuff because I'm excited. Like I said, like each time I'm learning like what type of camera works the best, what kind of audio equipment for recording, and everything like that. And then what I do to it in Pro Tools afterward, which luckily I'm familiar with, and I can mess with the audio. Sometimes, as I'm sure you know, especially now with these being on Zoom, you never know what kind of microphone your guest is going to have, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
you have to be able to mess with. Yeah, you're like, oh, dude. Sometimes I've
Yeah,
been
I
there too.
know.
Sometimes I'm just like, sometimes I'm like, you just hopped on with your phone, like
I've
on
had to.
Face.
I've had a couple of episodes that I've had to stop and like we're doing this later.
Yeah, you're like, I
Yeah,
can't. The audio is not going to work.
I'll just say I had Brian Holtzman. He's a comedian here from LA, very old school dude. He's he's a legend at the Comedy Store. And we would hang out. I'm like, hey man, you want to do the show one time? He's like, yeah, yeah. So we set it up. I sent him to Zoom. I start it, and when it starts, he's in his car with his lady friend driving on the
Oh,
highway.
driving?
On the highway, and he's just like, hello, hey, how you doing? I'm like, no.
Wait, was he driving?
Yeah. And he's like, hold on, I'm gonna pull over. And he pulls over, gets out of the car, and I don't know where he pulled over, but there's like dump trucks like backing up and making, you hear the trash can smashing, the dumpster smashing on the truck. I'm just like, what are we doing? And he's like, yeah, so what's the name of your show? I'm like, no. Listen, let's just reschedule when you're not in chaos mode. What's happening?
I've had a few cars. I've had a few cars too. I had Ron Killing's Our Truth on the
Nice.
show.
But if they're prepared for it, like if
they're
like,
totally.
look, I'm traveling and like, we have to do it this way. But Brian was just kind of like, I called him. It wasn't. I called him on his day. Oh shit! Yeah, I'm driving somewhere to go meet some people. It's like, I thought we were doing the podcast.
You don't just cold call people, man.
Oh my goodness, it's insane. But so, have you had that, like somebody that you would have to redo the podcast?
No, not because of the guests. I've had to redo the podcast a couple of times based on the fact that I have a technical difficulty.
Oh, okay.
Whereas like especially over these Zoom ones, right? So to do this, I need to make sure that I do a screen recording, right? Mm-hmm. So that way I have your camera, because it's not like I'm asking, and especially most people are using webcams. They're not using an exterior thing. They could send it to me later.
Right.
So it's my responsibility to make sure I'm screen recording. I've missed that a couple of times. Like I'm like running late and I'm like getting everything set up. I'm like, all right, cool. I got him on. Hit record on everything. Cool, let's go. And then like halfway through, I'm like, oh shit, I never recorded the screen.
Guess we're having an audio only episode this week.
Yeah, exactly. I've got one of those in the can, actually. I felt really bad, but the drummer from Motorhead and Scorpions was on the show.
Mickey D.
And we had an error on stuff. We started an hour late. He was stuck in traffic coming from home from an airport. Some shit. I don't know. Like his team and my team were like back and forth with emails. And there was a miscommunication there somehow. Yeah. So by the time we finally got him on, I forgot to record the screen. And for whatever reason, the audio, like when I had him slotted at, let's say whatever time it was, let's say it was noon, I had everything ready to go. I mean, I was like sitting there with time to spare. And then when I thought the interview wasn't going to happen anymore, the chat rather, I turned everything off. When I brought everything back on, it was just all shit was out the window. And I was like, why? I just turned it off and on.
Everything reset.
Yeah, everything reset. And I was just like, and then at the end of it, I was like, uh-oh, I didn't get a screen recording. Like, what are we going to do? And I talked to my director. He's like, we got a lot of content. We're backlogged in a lot of content. Let's save it for a paywall as a bonus episode of some kind. And so anyone listening or watching this now will be able to hear that at some point soon, probably released to our filthy animal crew that has like access to early and ad free, all the stuff Patreon gives you. We do in house. Nice. So we just started that literally last month. We just started doing early and ad free stuff.
Very cool. Yeah, I've been thinking about that because there's, my Patreon is lacking. It's mostly like I would get sent out to Psycho and do interviews, like short interviews with artists with like very specific questions. It wasn't much of a conversational. I would try, to kind of throw in some jabs.
When you're only allotted, the 15 minutes or whatever. I've been on. That's kind of the reason why I started a lot of this. It's because I've been on the other side of those. It's not fun for the interviewer. It's not fun for the guy being interviewed. I've been on those sides of this, like answer. It just doesn't. It's fine, but it's just not the same as like we're having right now, where it's more of a conversation, easy flow. I feel like you get a lot more out of. I think the listener gets a lot more out of it. And,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree completely, man. Like, it gets boring. I don't want to hear the same interviews over and over from people.
Yeah, no shit. I mean,
Yeah,
that's all it ever was. I mean, as I said, it's part of the reason why I wanted to start my own show, because I was just like, God, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way to have these people that I'm fans of be able to talk about what they want to talk about, rather than me having an editor sending me into a room and saying, you got to talk about these things. This is what we want the headlines reading this, and the
make
other.
sure you mention the album. Make sure you're mentioning the
Yeah.
release date. Make sure you're mentioning the sponsors.
And sure, there comes a time and place for those
Yeah, yeah,
as
yeah.
well, but it doesn't need to be every single time.
No.
It should be whatever the artist or celebrity of whatever stature wants to talk about that day.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely. Yeah.
this is your platform. My show is a platform for whoever's coming on. I want them to feel like it's their show too. And that's, that's why we break bread, or rather share drinks together. That's where the title comes from, right? And it's not
Sure.
even always alcohol. So
Yeah, that's the thing. That I had a problem with that in the beginning because the show was called the Rock and Roll Beer Guy, and a lot of people just don't drink, and they don't want to be associated with the word beer. So
yeah,
like if they Google your name and if you show up on a beer show and you're a sober person, that's not a good look. So I get it. So I had to shorten the show out, name for that reason alone. 'Cause I'm like, I don't want to just limit myself to alcoholics.
yeah. Yeah, you can't do that. Can't
Yeah,
cut off part of the
the whole
population.
community. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's ridiculous. But anyway, I have an idea real quick before we
Yeah.
continue
So
talking.
yeah, what's up, man?
How about we take a shot?
Okay, hold on one second. Of what? What are we taking a shot of?
I'm gonna take a shot of the Deftones tequila. I'm gonna bring it over.
Ooh, you got the Deftones together. I haven't tried that one yet.
I'll be
Hold
right
on
back.
one second. See, this already has a lot of nice breakups, right?
Yeah. I can't sit through a whole Joe Rogan. It's 3.5 hours. Like,
No, dude, that guy does. I mean, I can't. Every time, like, I might film. I mean, I guess we filmed for like 3 hours a couple of times, but I'm like, a lot of it's just banter too. Like, I mean, I don't know how he gets that much content. I mean, well, he's got the co-hosts and everything. It's more of like his thing seems to be a little bit like a Howard Stern-esque, more of a radio show in a lot of
right.
respects, because there's a whole front half where he's talking about current events and just shooting the shit with his co-hosts and stuff like that before the guest even comes on, I guess, where I think your show, my show, we kind of get right to the guest right away,
Yeah. What
So I
what
cut that some time.
aside from the show that you were mentioning of getting back to, because you're already working on that. When
Mhm.
I want to do things, when I get a thought to do a project, I like to throw it out there, like talk about it and like get the wheels turning, right? That's the only way to get it done. So, do you have something like do you use that method, like when you have a thought, is that what you do, like you just put it out there even before it happens just to get the wheels moving?
Yeah, I tend to start that. I mean, that's how this show started, really. I
Yeah.
mean, it was an idea that I was throwing around with Brian, my Sinister Gates, and it was started as a web show that I was just going to put on the Avenged Sevenfold YouTube channel. We had the YouTube channel. We're like, instead of just putting out music videos, we should start putting out other shit. And my idea was I was going to start making cocktails here at my bar and do like 5-10 minute episodes where I do that, and then play a little bass riff that makes me think of that drink, right? So let's say I make something with rum, and I go play a reggae riff or something. I don't know, so something like that. And
Right.
but then it quickly turned into other stuff, and then like next thing I know, Zach had a promo idea for um, our merch. We had switched over our merch to A7X World. We're in complete control over it, and we're doing it ourselves. So instead of having a company do it for us. So we
Nice.
had an idea for that, and we were gonna launch it. He's like, let's do like your happy hour idea or whatever. I still didn't have a name for it, so we called it Happy Hour at Johnny's. And it was a 5-minute promo, and it was just off the idea that I was gonna do stuff for my bar at my house. And then it just started snowballing into it. I think our first couple of guests were my friends and the Dirty Heads and Brandon Saller, who was our mutual friend from Atreo. And they're just friends of mine that live here locally in Huntington Beach. And I had so much fun filming just those couple that it kind of kept going and kept going. And I was like, oh man, this is actually a lot of fun to do it just like conversations. I don't need to play bass or anything like that. I get enough of that in my other life. This is kind of
Right.
fun to do something different.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was kind of that was the precipice of it. And then, and it, to answer your question extremely indirectly, I apologize, was as, you know, the idea for this is that let's go for it. Let's throw it out there and let's see what sticks. The first season we did, we only had what, like 13 episodes because I wasn't doing it weekly. It was, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. So when it was time, it was time.
Right.
You know, and then, yeah, so after that, it was, you know, learning it as you go, right? So finding out what sticks. And instead of not putting it out there and trying to hone it in before I release it to the world, I was that kind of asshole. I was like, oh, let's just go for it and see what happens. So,
I mean, there's a fine line. There's a fine line between putting stuff out to, you know, make it happen and also overthinking it. You know, oh,
yeah,
I got to perfect it. And it's like, put some work into it. But,
of course.
But I don't think you need to, like, people that are trying to put content out, artists are very, they're perfectionists. That's the word I was looking for. They're perfectionists. So, you know, it's never good enough. Also, that's usually if you're doing art, music, anything entertaining like that, you're also kind of you're dealing with mental health issues. You're kind of broken down from life and family issues and whatnot. So
yeah,
I'm pouring the shot.
All right, I already poured mine. I got Jameson.
I've got the Deftones White Pony Añejo.
I can't wait to try that.
Cheers, brother.
Cheers, man.
So smooth. It's ridiculous. I don't even need lime.
Is that good? When did they come out with that? It was just like in the last year or something, right?
Yeah, recently, a couple months ago, I went on a mission, dude. I'm a punisher. I swear to God, I'm just when it comes to Deftones, I gotta, you know, whatever they put out, I'm gonna put in work to get it. So
their beer they came out with a couple years ago is really good too.
They've got
I've had that.
Bunch of them. They're like 5 now.
Oh, they have a bunch now? Oh,
they have like 5 beers. They did one for White Pony. They did one for, oh, my computer just made a sound. Restart later, not now, dude. God.
I hate when those updates come on. No matter if I tell my computer to turn off notifications or not, some of those things still come up and they're like, update now. I'm like, no, I'm trying to do a show here.
Good Lord. Anyway, so yeah, I'm a big Deftones fan. So whenever they put something out, I'll make an effort to go find it, even no matter how limited it is. I got people. Like I said, I used to work in the beer biz. I got numbers I can call and make them happen. But yeah, big fan of the tequila itself. It's smooth. It has like a citrusy note to it, so you don't even need the lime or whatever that tequila usually has with it. I think it would go really well in a cocktail too, but one of those like fancy cocktails that are like $37. And they come in a very tiny glass with smoke.
I know how to make a lot of those.
I wish, dude. I wish. I'm more of an old school, like, you know, that much vodka, and then all the other mixtures will be above it, and I'll muddle. Like, I could do muddling. That's as far as I go.
Okay.
I'll do like mojito muddling. You know, I might get some fruit and muddle that too, but I don't get into the, you know, ooh, this one has smoke. And like that.
Yeah.
I can't.
I do a little bit of that. It's just because I got into making cocktails. I thought it was a really cool hobby to have. And I got, you know, I got family and friends that give me a bunch of new drink recipe books and stuff. And one of my favorite ones is just called Speakeasy, and it's got all these great cocktails that don't cost that much money. The whole point was there were a lot of bang for your buck. I mean, the speakeasies were at a time when not everyone had a lot of pocket change, right? And they couldn't just go to a bar. They had to find a spot where they would only be able to sneak in and have a couple of drinks before they had to get home to the wife. That's already pissed. They've been gone all day. So they got to slam those quick drinks real quick, but they want to have bang for their buck. So they use nothing but booze and liqueurs that are actually stronger than the actual booze.
Yeah.
And I'm like, these are my kind of drinks. So, you know, I enjoy making a lot of those.
It's funny how that idea got taken, like, it became a thing now. At least here in LA, I went to a few speakeasies, but but it was like $36 drinks. And I mean, and I get it. Like, they're fancy. I get it. Like, I've discovered the magic of having like a stick of rosemary that they charred up by your nose. It's not part of the drink, but it's by your nose as you're taking the drink, so that all of the senses are, you know, activating together. That's great. But
I get nerdy with that. I get nerdy with that shit, man. I really do. I have to admit, I'm the guy that like
a brine.
I don't mind. You know, I go to a bunch of these bars when I'm traveling and stuff, and I like watching the guy make it. I'm into that stuff. I'm also a really big Scotch and wine guy, I guess, and that's kind of what got me into it, because when you start getting into stuff like Scotch and red wine and big bold red wines, and you start learning the notes and stuff about the differences and why something, you know, it does. The funniest thing is everyone just equates it to like, oh, if it's expensive, it must be good. And it's like, that's
No,
not even kind of the truth.
no.
It's all, it's taste. It's just like it's just like anything else you put in your mouth to taste.
Yeah.
Everyone's got a different taste bud, and everyone's got a different way of what they like. So you might have $1,000 bottle of something awesome from Margaux in France, and you might not like it, and it might be my favorite thing in the world. You know, it's just
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, palates are different. Like for me, I think the Riojas from Spain. I guess because I kind of grew up on that, so it has to have that
really dry red. Yeah,
super dry, super heavy. But that's just, that's my taste. But my wife hates that, so I have to like. I've been introducing her to booze through sour beers. She likes those.
same with my wife. I don't know what it
Framboise.
is with the women. They love the sours. I like. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't mind them either, but I can only have like a half of one of those. It's just too. I had one that was a warhead. It was a sour, but it
Oh,
was like supposed to taste like the warheads.
Yeah.
And it did. And I was like, it threw me back to like middle school. I hadn't had a warhead since I was a fucking 12-year-old, right?
Yeah.
And like it took me right back, that all the flavors. I was like, yeah. A few more sips in. I'm like, yeah, this is awesome. And I'm about halfway down. I'm like, I'm ready for a different beer. Like
Yeah, sours they're, I can enjoy one to have the flavor of it, like to the experience of that drink. But yeah, I'm not gonna be putting back a few of those. I get heartburn and stuff. So everyone's like, if I have too many of it, I'm just like, oh my god, I'm bloated now. Like, what's happening? I'll just stick to lighter beers. That's the thing. As I've gone through the years of craft beer drinking, I'm now like, I prefer a lager. I used to want the craziest stout or the craziest sour or triple IPA. That's fine, but now I just want to taste it just to see what you did, and then I'm gonna go drink a lager.
I'm not quite there yet. I'm not quite there yet. So
No?
I right now I'm still really heavy on the IPAs and stuff. That's still. I can't go to a lager right now. Every time I do, I'm just like, it's too light. If I'm gonna drink a fucking beer, I want to drink a fucking beer right now.
A beer.
Yeah, but I mean, because I don't always drink beer too. I mean, I love beer. I love every alcohol, but I mean, especially when I'm trying to, like, right now, you got me drinking at 11 o'clock in the morning here. And I'm actually on the wagon too right now, which is really funny. So I guess I'm technically not, but I've been kicking back on my drinking so much because I looked at myself after the last year and I was just like, oh, you're getting big, boy. Like, I looked at myself in the mirror. I'm like, it's time to take it down a couple notches. We just announced some tour dates in next summer. I'm like, it might take me till next summer to lose this weight. So let's start doing that now.
No, I hear you completely. And you know what's funny? I lose a lot of friends this way because I have friends that are like, I'm trying to change my life for the better, and then you showed up and I'm drunk again. I'm like, hey man, I'm sorry, dude. I
this is why we get along so well. I'm that guy in my groups. I'm that guy. My wife for years was like, I don't want you hanging out with so-and-so or so-and-so. They're all bad influences. And I mean, this is a gross quote of hers. It's a real quote. Yeah. But, those sentiments. And then it finally dawned on her after so many. She's like, wait a minute. You're the influencer. What's the common denominator here?
You do the Vince McMahon. It's me, Austin. Yeah. It's been me all along.
I love the wrestling references. Oh, my God. We got to do something together. We got to collab on something wrestling. We got to do that.
We
got to get like one of our friends in the wrestling industry or a couple of them and get like a round table chat that we could simulcast or something, or do like a watch along. I think that'd be super. Like, find like two guys maybe and watch one of their matches and get them talking about it and us talking about the fandom of it too. I think that'd be fucking rad.
Hell yeah, I'm down. I'm down. Well, I know you got to get going before.
Yeah, I apologize. I'll if you want to finish some stuff up another time, you want some more time, I'm more than happy to give it to you. I'm sorry I was late. So
no worries, man. No worries. So before you go, last thing, what's your favorite cocktail? What's your go-to?
My go-to and my favorite are two different things, actually.
Ooh,
my go-to.
Okay, go-to and favorite. That's it.
My go-to is a Tanqueray Martini up with a lemon twist. Now, I used to get it with green olives and developed an allergy, maybe because I was drinking so many of them. Oh. So I can no longer do green olives, which is unfortunate because I love them. But that's my go-to with the lemon twist. So I had to swerve on that. Back to some speakeasy drinks though. The Last Word is my favorite cocktail to make, drink, whatever, because it is just, it's refreshing and super, super alcoholic. And I absolutely love it.
Hell yeah. Well, if I end up coming down to your place, I would like one of those, please.
I will make you that and many others, I promise.
Awesome, brother. Well, hey, thanks again for your time. Everybody that's watching and listening, make sure to follow the show at Drinks with Johnny. You know, great stuff, dude. You have so many of. I look at your list and I'm just like, damn it. I emailed Godfather and I haven't heard back, and he has them on. I'm just kidding.
No,
it's exciting, dude. It's so awesome.
It's so funny though. I have that with a lot of other podcasts. I've become friends with a lot of other podcasters who are doing the show. And every once in a while, I'll see someone else. I'm like,
it's not like real hate, but it's like, oh,
yeah. Like, I mean, Finn McKenty is on the Sound Talent Media Network with us, and he's got a very successful podcast. He's a great dude. I went and had lunch with him in Seattle not too long ago, and he had Tommy End, formerly known as Alistair Black, and I had been talking with Tommy for a few weeks, and then he released his episode with him. I went, fuck. Because we're scheduled this week to film with him, and you're on the same network.
Yeah, it's fine.
But, you know, we have different styles though. So
yeah, it's fine.
Everyone's going to get a different look at Tommy End from my podcast to his for sure.
Exactly, it's different shows. You know, different. I tried not to think about that because there are a couple shows that are similar to mine as well, and I, you know, we stay in communication, and I'm just like, I'm actively trying to make different choices because I don't want to like have the same show, but also at times there's just people doing the cycle. You know, they're doing the rounds. What can you do? You know, Tommy's doing the rounds right now. He just had big life-changing event.
Exactly.
So he's got to make the rounds and make shit
He's
happen.
such a great dude. I mean, we were texting back and forth before I got him on the show, and then once I got him on the show, and we've been texting since. I mean, we've got a lot of cool things in common that we really like. We hit it off pretty well. I think that friendship is gonna blossom into something pretty cool. Actually, we've been discussing. So keep an eye out for that. Probably around the same time in the next couple of weeks when we release his episode, we'll talk about what we're doing together. That's I think is gonna be really cool for everybody.
Hell yeah, I'm excited to see it.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you again so much for having me. And thanks.
Do you want people to follow? Do you want people to follow you personally?
No. That's probably not a good idea. No, of course. Yeah.
At Drinks with Johnny.
Yeah. At Drinks with Johnny, and then my personal, the only social personal that I have is the Johnny Christ official. I don't have a Twitter for Johnny Christ or Facebook for Johnny Christ. I don't have any of that. So either Drinks with Johnny or Johnny Christ. Easy enough to fucking find.
Awesome, brother. We'll be in touch, man.
All right, man. I appreciate you. I'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you later.
All right.